If you enjoyed this audiobook, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Sharing it with your friends and family helps spread knowledge, and when we help others grow, we grow too. Thank you so much for listening. Let's dive into the audiobook. Chapter 1. The Day Colors Changed. Part 1. The Morning of Jumbled Colors. When Emma opened her eyes that Tuesday morning, something felt different. The walls of her bedroom, usually painted soft lavender, now swirled with patches of deep red, cloudy blue, and bright yellow, all mixed together like finger paints left in the rain. She blinked hard, rubbing her eyes, the way her mom taught her, but the colors remained jumbled and strange. This morning felt like carrying too many crayons in her small hands. Everything important, but impossible to hold at once. Emma's chest felt tight, her stomach fluttery, and her thoughts moved like marbles, rolling in different directions. She couldn't name what was happening inside her, only that it felt big and confusing. Dr. Mark Brackett from Yale University discovered that most children can't identify their emotions until someone teaches them the connection between what they feel inside their bodies and what those feelings mean. Emma was experiencing what researchers call emotional overwhelm, when multiple feelings crash together like waves in a storm, creating something entirely new and unnamed. Think about mixing watercolors on paper. Red anger might blend with blue sadness, creating purple confusion. Yellow happiness could swirl with green worry, producing a muddy brown that doesn't quite match any single feeling. This is exactly what happens inside a child's emotional world when they lack the vocabulary to separate one feeling from another. Emma sat up in bed, noticing how her heart beat faster when she looked at the red patches on her wall, how the blue areas made her shoulders feel heavy, and how the yellow spots brought tiny smiles despite her confusion. Her body was sending signals, but she didn't yet know how to read them. Child psychologist Dr. Patty Wipfler explains that children's brains process emotions primarily through their bodies, before their minds can make sense of the experience. Emma's racing heart, tight chest, and fluttery stomach were her internal alarm system trying to communicate something important. What makes this morning special isn't that Emma feels confused, it's that she's beginning to notice the complexity of her inner world. Many adults struggle with exactly what Emma is discovering. Emotions rarely arrive alone, and that's completely normal. The mixed-up colors in Emma's room represent what happens inside every child when feelings get tangled together. Maybe you felt excited about your birthday, but worried about the attention. Perhaps you felt angry at your sibling, but also sad that they seemed upset. These combinations create entirely new emotional experiences that don't fit into simple happy or sad categories. Emma's journey through the jumbled colors is just beginning. Today, she'll learn that feeling many things at once isn't something to fix, it's something to understand. What experiences have you had? Part 2. When red took over the sky. Emma stepped outside that morning and gasped. The entire sky had turned bright red, not sunset red or fire truck red, but something much wilder. It pulsed and swirled above her like a living thing, making the air feel thick and buzzing with energy. "What's happening up there?" she whispered, her heart beating faster. The red seemed to press down on everything, making the trees look darker and the flowers seem smaller. Even the birds had gone quiet. Then she heard it, a voice rumbling from the crimson clouds above. "I'm red," it boomed, causing Emma to take a step back. "And I'm big, and I'm loud, and I'm here." Emma had met Red before, though she'd never seen him take over the whole sky like this. Red appeared when her little brother broke her favorite toy, or when she couldn't reach something on a high shelf, or when grown-ups said, "maybe later," for the 10th time. But this Red felt different, overwhelming and impossible to ignore. "Why are you everywhere today?" Emma called up to the swirling red sky. Her body felt hot and tense, just like when she wanted to stomp her feet or clench her fists. Red's voice softened just a little. "Because something hurt," he admitted. "And when things hurt, I get bigger and bigger until someone pays attention." This surprised Emma. She'd always thought Red just showed up to cause trouble, like when she yelled at her mom or slammed doors. But listening to Red now, she realized he sounded almost sad underneath all that noise and fire. "What hurt?" she asked gently, the same way her grandmother asked when Emma skinned her knee. "Yesterday, when those kids at the playground said my person wasn't good enough to play their game. And this morning, when the zipper broke on the favorite jacket. And right now, when everything feels too hard and too unfair." Red's voice cracked a little. Emma nodded. She remembered Dr. Mark Brackett from Yale University explaining to her class that anger often protects other feelings, like a bodyguard standing in front of hurt or disappointment. Red wasn't the problem. He was trying to help in the only way he knew how. "Can I help you feel better?" Emma asked the red sky. "Maybe," Red rumbled thoughtfully. "But you have to be patient with me. I can't just disappear." Emma remembered what her teacher taught them about the breathing balloon technique. She imagined her belly was a balloon, filling up slowly with air, then letting it out even more slowly. As she breathed, she noticed Red beginning to swirl less frantically overhead. "You know what?" Emma said to Red. "You don't have to go away completely, but maybe you could share the sky with the other colors." Gradually, patches of blue began peeking through the red, and Emma felt her shoulders relax. Red was still there, but he wasn't taking up everything anymore. Part 3. The Whispering Blue Cloud. When Red's energy finally began to settle, Emma noticed something different happening in the sky above. Where the fierce scarlet had dominated just moments before, soft wisps of blue started to drift across like gentle clouds. These weren't the bright, cheerful blues of a summer day. They moved slowly, carrying a weight that made Emma's chest feel heavy too. Mark Brackett's research at Yale University found that children who learn to sit with difficult emotions rather than immediately trying to fix them develop stronger emotional intelligence throughout their lives. Emma was about to discover this truth firsthand as Blue settled around her like a quiet blanket. "Hello, Blue," Emma whispered, her voice naturally becoming softer. Blue didn't rush or demand attention like Red had. Instead, it moved like honey, thick and deliberate, wrapping around Emma's shoulders with surprising gentleness. Her eyes began to feel warm and watery, but not in a scary way, more like when she watched her favorite movie and felt moved by the ending. Blue had a different lesson to teach. While Red had been about energy and action, Blue invited Emma to simply be still. She found herself wanting to sit down on the grass, to let the feeling wash over her without fighting it. "It's okay to feel sad sometimes," Blue seemed to whisper through the quiet air around them. Research from the University of Rochester shows that children who learn to name and accept sadness develop better coping skills than those taught to cheer up quickly. Emma instinctively understood this as she let Blue stay for a while, neither pushing it away nor diving deeper into it. She remembered her grandmother's recent illness and how worried everyone had been. The Blue feeling made sense now. It connected her to love, to caring about people who mattered. "You're not here to hurt me," Emma realized, speaking to Blue like an old friend. "You're here because I care about things." Blue taught Emma about patience. Unlike Red's urgency, Blue moved at its own pace, allowing Emma to breathe deeply and feel the ground beneath her. She discovered that when she stopped trying to make the feeling go away, it began to transform naturally, becoming less heavy and more like a gentle reminder of her capacity to love. As Emma sat with Blue, she noticed that the color didn't demand solutions or immediate action. It simply asked her to acknowledge what she was feeling, to treat herself with the same kindness she would offer a friend. This moment of sitting quietly with sadness was teaching her something profound about emotional wisdom, that some feelings are meant to be felt, not fixed. The blue clouds continued to drift overhead, and Emma felt grateful for their gentle presence, understanding that they too were part of her emotional weather, neither good nor bad, but simply real. Part 4. A Visit from Yellow. Just as Emma was beginning to understand the quiet wisdom of the blue clouds, a bright shimmer caught her eye. From behind the gentle gray sky came a burst of warmth that made her blink twice. Yellow had arrived, bouncing like a giggling friend who couldn't wait to share a secret. Yellow didn't push away the blue clouds or demand that Emma stop feeling sad. Instead, it danced around them playfully, creating tiny golden sparkles that made even the gray sky look magical. Emma watched in wonder as Yellow settled beside her, warm as a sunny afternoon, but gentle enough not to overwhelm her tender heart. "I'm not here to make you forget," Yellow whispered with a voice like wind chimes. "I'm here to remind you that I live inside you too, even when things feel heavy." Emma felt something shift in her chest. Not the disappearance of sadness, but the recognition that her heart was big enough to hold many feelings at once. Just like Maria, a kindergarten teacher who discovered that her most challenging days often contained unexpected moments of joy, a child's spontaneous hug, sunlight streaming through classroom windows, or the sound of genuine laughter during story time. Research from Dr. Barbara Fredrickson at the University of North Carolina shows that positive emotions don't erase negative ones, but rather broaden our perspective, helping us see possibilities even during difficult moments. Yellow began pointing out small treasures Emma had forgotten to notice. The way her favorite stuffed animal caught morning light, the sound of her grandmother's laughter echoing from the kitchen, the feeling of soft socks on her feet. Each tiny recognition made Yellow glow a little brighter, not erasing the blue clouds, but creating a beautiful contrast against them. Emma realized something profound as she watched Yellow and Blue exist peacefully together in her emotional sky. Happiness wasn't about pretending everything was perfect or forcing herself to smile when she felt sad. True joy came from noticing the good things that were already there, like hidden gems waiting to be discovered. This wisdom echoes what researchers at Stanford University found when studying emotional regulation in children. Kids who learn to notice positive moments while still honoring difficult feelings develop stronger resilience than those taught to simply think positive. The practice of gratitude doesn't minimize pain, but creates space for hope to coexist with struggle. Yellow taught Emma that her inner world was like a garden where different flowers could bloom simultaneously. Some days might be filled with bright yellow sunflowers, others with gentle blue forget-me-nots. But the richness came from appreciating the whole garden rather than wishing only certain flowers would grow. Chapter 2: The Big Feelings Parade. Part 1: The Loud Roar Inside. When 4-year-old Marcus threw his toy truck across the living room after his tower collapsed for the 3rd time, something remarkable happened inside his small body. His heart began racing like a drumbeat, his hands clenched into tiny fists, and a sound wanted to burst from his throat, what child development experts recognize as the physiological cascade of frustration that can overwhelm young minds in seconds. Dr. Patty Whitfler, founder of Hand-in-Hand Parenting, discovered through decades of research that children experience emotions with an intensity adults rarely remember. Their developing brains lack the prefrontal cortex connections needed for emotional regulation, making frustration feel genuinely explosive. Marcus wasn't being difficult. He was experiencing what neuroscientists call emotional flooding, where stress hormones hijack rational thinking. Think of frustration as a lion that lives inside every child's chest. Most days, this lion sleeps peacefully. But when things don't go as planned, when the crayon breaks, when shoes won't tie, when big sister won't share, the lion wakes up roaring. The roar creates physical sensations: tight shoulders, clenched jaw, hot cheeks, and that overwhelming urge to hit or throw something. Marcus's teacher, Mrs. Chen, had learned from child psychologist Dr. Ross Greene's research that children do well when they can. She knelt beside Marcus and said gently, "I can see your lion is roaring really loud right now. Let's listen to what it's trying to tell us." This approach, validated by decades of studies, helps children develop emotional awareness without shame. A magic happens when adults help children notice their body's signals before the roar becomes overwhelming. Dr. Dan Siegel's research shows that naming emotions activates the thinking brain, literally calming the emotional storm. Children can learn to recognize their personal warning signs, the tight feeling in their tummy, the way their voice gets louder, or how their hands want to push things away. Mrs. Chen taught Marcus 3 simple strategies backed by neuroscience research. First, the balloon breath. Imagining inflating a balloon slowly helps activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Second, counting to 5 gives the prefrontal cortex time to come back online. Third, drawing the feeling with angry scribbles or calm circles gives the emotion a safe voice. The breakthrough came when Marcus learned that feelings aren't enemies to fight, they're messengers trying to help. His frustration was actually his brain's way of saying, "This is hard, and I need support." When children understand this, they stop seeing themselves as bad and start seeing emotions as information. Within weeks, Marcus began noticing his lion stirring before it roared. He'd announce, "My lion is waking up," and reach for his breathing techniques. This self-awareness, developed through patient practice, becomes the foundation for lifelong emotional intelligence that serves children far beyond their early years. Part 2. The Shaky Steps of Worry. When 7-year-old Emma first described her anxiety to her therapist, she said it felt like walking on a bouncy castle that might collapse. This perfectly captures how worry affects children. Everything feels unstable, and each step forward seems uncertain. Research from the Child Mind Institute shows that anxiety now affects 1 in 8 children, making Emma's experience surprisingly common rather than unusual. Worry arrives quietly, like morning fog creeping across a playground. Unlike the roaring lion of anger, worry whispers constant questions. What if something bad happens? What if I make a mistake? What if nobody likes me? These thoughts create physical sensations that children often struggle to describe. Butterflies in the stomach, wobbly legs, or feeling like their heart is beating too fast. At Roosevelt Elementary School in Denver, teacher Sarah Chen noticed something remarkable when she started personifying worry in her classroom. Instead of telling anxious students to just calm down, she taught them to recognize worry as a well-meaning but overprotective friend. "Worry is trying to keep you safe," she would explain, "but sometimes it gets a little too excited about its job." This approach transforms how children relate to their anxiety. Rather than fighting the feeling or feeling ashamed of it, they learn to acknowledge it with compassion. Dr. Dawn Hubner, author of several anxiety workbooks for children, emphasizes that thanking worry actually reduces its intensity. When children say, "Thank you, worry, for trying to protect me, but I'm safe right now," they develop agency over their emotional experience. The color gray becomes worry's visual representation, not dark and scary, but soft and cloudy, like a gentle blanket that sometimes covers too much. This imagery helps children understand that worry isn't dangerous. It's just temporarily blocking their view of what's actually happening. Practical grounding techniques work best when presented as games rather than exercises. The 5-4-3-2-1 technique becomes a treasure hunt. Find 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. Children at Chen's school call this collecting the world around me. Physical comfort objects serve as worry's gentle opponents. A smooth stone in the pocket, a soft bracelet, or even pressing palms together creates an anchor to the present moment. These tools work because they engage the body's natural calming response without requiring complex thinking. The breakthrough happens when children realize they can be scared and brave simultaneously. 8-year-old Miguel discovered this during his first school presentation. His worry was present, making his hands shake slightly, but he spoke anyway. Afterward, he announced proudly, "My worry came with me, but I did it anyway." This understanding builds resilience that extends far beyond childhood, creating adults who can move forward despite uncertainty. Part 3. tiny sparks of courage. When Miguel declared he could be scared and brave at the same time, he discovered something remarkable about courage. The next day at recess, a new child named Sarah noticed something glowing softly in the corner of the playground where children sometimes sat alone. It was orange, warm and steady, like a campfire on a cool evening. Orange wasn't loud or boastful like some colors might expect courage to be. Instead, orange felt gentle but determined, like a sunrise that knows it will eventually fill the whole sky. Courage isn't about not feeling scared, Orange explained to Sarah, who had been watching a group of children play jump rope from a distance. Courage is being kind to yourself when you are scared. Research from the University of California shows that children who learn to reframe fear as excitement perform better in challenging situations. Sarah's body was sending her the same signals it always did when she wanted to join in. Butterflies in her stomach, slightly sweaty palms. But now she could interpret these feelings differently. Sarah took a deep breath and walked toward the jump rope group. Her legs felt wobbly, just like when she climbed the tall slide for the first time. But Orange reminded her that every brave person in history felt scared before they acted. Malala Yousafzai felt nervous before her first speech about education. Katherine Johnson's hands probably trembled before she calculated the flight path for NASA's first space missions. Even Mr. Rogers admitted feeling anxious before each television show. The beautiful truth about courage is that it grows stronger with practice, like a muscle that gets bigger when you exercise it. When Sarah asked, "Can I play too?" and the children smiled and made room for her, she felt Orange glowing brighter inside her chest. Teachers at Roosevelt Elementary discovered this principle when they started courage journals with their second graders. Children wrote about small, brave moments, raising their hand in class, helping someone who dropped their lunch, or admitting when they made a mistake. Within 6 weeks, these same children were volunteering for school presentations and standing up to bullying behavior. The magic happens when children realize their feelings don't have to control their choices. Dr. Mark Brackett's research at Yale shows that children who learn this distinction have better relationships and academic performance throughout their lives. Orange taught Sarah that courage comes in different sizes. Sometimes it's as small as saying, "I don't understand," when everyone else seems to know the answer. Other times, it's bigger, like telling a friend when their words hurt your feelings. But every act of courage starts with the same thing: choosing kindness toward yourself when you feel afraid. When we face our feelings honestly, instead of hiding from them, something wonderful happens. The scared feeling doesn't disappear, but it transforms into energy we can use to grow stronger inside. Part 4. The Magic Pause. Right in the middle of all those swirling colors and feelings, something extraordinary happened to Sarah. The parade seemed to slow down, like someone had pressed a magical pause button on the whole world. Even Orange, who had been dancing energetically beside her, came to a gentle stop and smiled knowingly. "What's happening?" Sarah whispered, noticing how her heart had been beating fast like a drum, but now it felt quieter, more peaceful. "This is the magic pause," Orange explained softly. "It's the most powerful tool in the whole parade, and every person carries one inside them." Dr. Daniel Siegel, a renowned child psychiatrist, discovered that when children learn to pause before reacting, their brain actually rewires itself for better emotional control. His research with thousands of families shows that this simple skill prevents 80% of emotional outbursts when practiced regularly. Sarah found herself breathing differently now, deeper and slower. Orange showed her how to imagine blowing up an invisible balloon with each breath, in through the nose to fill it up, out through the mouth to make it float away. "See what colors are moving inside when you breathe like this?" Orange suggested. As Sarah closed her eyes and breathed, she could actually see the colors of her feelings swirling more gently. The red anger from earlier looked softer now, like a warm sunset instead of a fire. The gray worry had become more like a fluffy cloud than a storm. The pause wasn't about making feelings disappear. Sarah realized something important. All her emotions were still there, but they weren't rushing around wildly anymore. They had space to be themselves without taking over everything else. At Roosevelt Elementary School in Portland, teacher Maria Gonzalez implemented pause moments in her classroom after noticing how overwhelmed her students became during transitions. Within 3 weeks, playground conflicts dropped by 60%, and children began asking for pause time when they felt big emotions building. The magic isn't in stopping the feelings, Orange explained, as the parade around them hummed with gentle activity. The magic is in giving yourself time to choose what happens next. Sarah took another slow breath, watching her invisible balloon rise higher. In that moment of stillness, she understood that she didn't have to be afraid of her big feelings anymore. The pause gave her friendship with every emotion in the parade, even the difficult ones. When the world feels too fast, too loud, or too much, Sarah now knew she could always find this quiet space inside herself. One breath at a time, she had discovered the most important parade secret of all. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is simply stop and breathe. Chapter 3. Listening to My Inside World. Part 1. The Tummy That Talked. When 4-year-old Emma felt her stomach flip during her first day at preschool, she didn't realize her body was already talking to her about being nervous. Research from the University of Rochester reveals that children who learn to recognize these internal signals show 40% better emotional regulation by age 6. Your child's body operates like a sophisticated communication system, constantly sending messages about their emotional state. Dr. Mark Brackett from Yale's Center for Emotional Intelligence discovered that children who learn to identify these physical cues develop stronger emotional skills than those who focus solely on naming feelings. The stomach often serves as the first messenger, tightening with worry or fluttering with excitement before the mind even registers what's happening. Consider how professional athletes use this body awareness. Tennis champion Serena Williams has spoken about how she learned to notice her heart rate and breathing patterns to manage pressure during matches. Children can develop this same skill by learning to listen to their bodies. When 5-year-old Marcus started having meltdowns at kindergarten, his teacher began asking him simple questions. What does your tummy feel like right now? Are your hands warm or cold? Within weeks, Marcus could identify the tight feeling in his chest that meant frustration was building. The science behind this approach involves interoception, our 8th sense that monitors internal bodily signals. Children with stronger interoceptive awareness show better emotional regulation, according to research published in Developmental Psychology. Dr. Sarah Garfinkel's studies at the University of Sussex found that children who practice body awareness exercises demonstrate improved decision-making and reduced anxiety. Physical sensations provide early warning systems for emotional storms. A racing heart might signal excitement or fear. Tense shoulders often indicate stress. Butterflies in the stomach frequently accompany anxiety or anticipation. Teaching children to notice these signals creates space between feeling and reaction. When 7-year-old Lily felt her hands getting sweaty before her school presentation, her mother had taught her to pause and ask, "What is my body telling me?" This simple question helped Lily recognize nervousness without becoming overwhelmed by it. She learned that sweaty palms weren't scary. They were information. Parents can foster this awareness through gentle questioning during calm moments. How does your body feel when you're happy? What happens in your tummy when you're worried? These conversations build emotional vocabulary while strengthening the mind-body connection. Children begin understanding that emotions aren't just thoughts. They're full-body experiences that can guide them toward better choices. This body-based approach transforms emotional regulation from abstract concept to concrete skill, giving children practical tools for managing their inner world. Part 2. Breathing Like a Balloon. When Maya first learned about breathing like a balloon, she discovered something magical hidden in plain sight. Dr. Sarah Beebe's research at Yale University found that teaching children intentional breathing techniques activates their parasympathetic nervous system within 60 seconds, literally changing their brain state from reactive to responsive. This isn't just feel-good advice, it's neuroscience in action. Maya would sit quietly and imagine herself as a bright red balloon. As she breathed in slowly through her nose, she pictured air filling her up, making her tummy rise like a balloon expanding. Then, breathing out through her mouth, she watched herself gently deflate, feeling her shoulders drop and her whole body soften. The simple act transformed her from a child who threw tantrums into someone who could pause and choose her response. What makes this balloon technique so powerful for children? Dr. Matthew Lieberman's UCLA studies show that controlled breathing creates crucial seconds between feeling an emotion and reacting to it. When 4-year-old Jake started using balloon breathing at his preschool in Portland, his teacher noticed he stopped hitting when frustrated. Instead, he would announce, "I need to be a balloon," and take 3 deep breaths before asking for help. The magic happens in those few seconds of breathing space. Children's brains are still developing the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for emotional regulation, which doesn't fully mature until age 25. Breathing exercises give them an external tool to manage internal storms while their natural regulatory systems develop. Parents can make this practice stick by modeling it themselves. When Dr. Rebecca Brandstetter worked with families in San Francisco, she found that children whose parents regularly practiced breathing exercises were 3 times more likely to use the technique independently during emotional moments. The key is making it playful rather than forced. Consider how this worked for the Chen family. Their 5-year-old daughter, Emma, struggled with separation anxiety at school drop-offs. After 2 weeks of practicing balloon breathing together at bedtime, Emma began using it spontaneously when feeling overwhelmed. Her teacher reported that Emma would quietly breathe like a balloon during transitions, then rejoin activities with visible calm. The balloon metaphor works because it gives children something concrete to visualize. Unlike abstract concepts about feelings, balloons are familiar, colorful, and fun. Children can see themselves getting bigger with each inhale, smaller with each exhale, creating a physical anchor for an emotional skill. This breathing foundation becomes the gateway to emotional self-regulation. When children master this simple technique, they're not just learning to breathe, they're discovering they have power over their internal world, one breath at a time. Part 3. Counting Rainbows. When 7-year-old Maya felt sad after her grandmother moved across the country, her mother taught her to count rainbows, a simple practice that would transform how Maya viewed difficult emotions. This technique, developed by child psychologist Dr. Rick Hansen, involves actively noticing positive experiences, however small, and letting them register in our awareness for at least 20 seconds. Maya learned to pause after her daily balloon breathing and scan her world for tiny treasures, the warm feeling of her cat purring on her lap, the smell of her favorite pancakes on Saturday morning, the way afternoon light danced through her bedroom window. What seemed like a simple game actually rewired her developing brain, strengthening neural pathways associated with contentment and resilience. Research from the University of California shows that when children practice gratitude regularly, their stress hormone levels decrease significantly within just 8 weeks. Dr. Robert Emmons found that kids who kept gratitude journals showed improved mood, better sleep, and increased empathy compared to peers who didn't engage in this practice. But counting rainbows goes beyond listing good things. It's about teaching children to be present with positive experiences, letting them sink in rather than rushing past them. When Marcus, a kindergartner in Seattle, started this practice after his parents' divorce, his teacher noticed he began pointing out beautiful clouds during recess instead of sitting alone. The magic happens in the noticing itself. Children learn that even on their stormiest emotional days, small moments of beauty persist, A friend's smile, a colorful butterfly, the satisfying crunch of autumn leaves underfoot. These aren't distractions from difficult feelings. They're evidence that multiple truths can exist simultaneously. Parents can guide this practice by asking gentle questions. What made your heart feel warm today? Or can you find 3 things that made you smile? The key is consistency without pressure. Some days children might notice a dozen small joys. Other days, perhaps just one. Maya's mother kept a family gratitude jar where everyone dropped in weekly notes about their rainbows. Reading these aloud during dinner created a ritual of shared appreciation that strengthened their emotional bonds during a challenging transition. This practice builds what psychologists call positive emotion regulation, the ability to enhance and extend good feelings rather than just manage difficult ones. Children who count rainbows develop a more balanced emotional perspective, recognizing that feelings, like weather, are temporary and varied. When we teach children to notice life's small gifts, we're not teaching them to ignore problems or minimize real struggles. Instead, we're showing them that their emotional sky contains both storms and rainbows, and they have the power to notice both. Part 4. My Quiet Corner. When 4-year-old Maya felt her heart racing after a playground disagreement, her teacher, Mrs. Chen, noticed something remarkable. Maya walked directly to a small carpeted area filled with soft pillows, dim lighting, and her favorite stuffed elephant. Within minutes, Maya's breathing slowed, her shoulders relaxed, and she was ready to rejoin her friends. This wasn't accident. Maya had learned to create and use her own quiet corner. Dr. Stuart Shanker's research at York University demonstrates that children who have designated calm-down spaces show 40% faster emotional recovery compared to those without such spaces. The key lies in what neuroscientists call environmental co-regulation. Our surroundings actively help regulate our nervous system. Maya's teacher had worked with families to establish these spaces both at school and home, creating consistent emotional anchors for children. The quiet corner works because it engages multiple senses simultaneously. Child psychologist Dr. Mona Delahook explains that when we're emotionally overwhelmed, our thinking brain goes offline. However, sensory input, soft textures, gentle colors, familiar scents can activate our calming systems directly. 7-year-old Marcus fills his quiet corner with a weighted blanket, lavender sachets, and photos of his family camping trips. When his anger builds up, he retreats there and traces the soft fabric patterns with his fingers. Creating this space requires intentional choices. Research from the Center on the Social and Emotional Foundations for Early Learning shows that cool colors like blues and greens naturally lower cortisol levels, while warm yellows and oranges can increase arousal. Children should choose their own comfort objects, whether it's a favorite book, a smooth stone, or a small music box. The ownership matters tremendously. What happens when children can't physically access their quiet corner? 9-year-old Elena learned to create a pocket-sized version in her mind. During a challenging math test, she closed her eyes and visualized her bedroom reading nook, complete with her grandmother's quilt and the sound of rain on the window. Her teacher reported that Elena's test anxiety decreased significantly after learning this visualization technique. The quiet corner teaches children that seeking solitude isn't withdrawal, it's self-care. Dr. Susan David's research at Harvard Medical School reveals that children who learn to self-regulate through environmental supports develop stronger emotional intelligence and better peer relationships. They learn that taking space to process feelings is mature, not antisocial. Parents often worry about children retreating to their quiet corners too frequently. However, child development specialists emphasize that consistent use actually builds confidence to handle emotions independently. 10-year-old Jordan initially spent an hour daily in his quiet corner after school. Within 3 months, he needed only brief 5-minute visits because he'd internalized the calming strategies. The corner had taught him to regulate from within. Chapter 4. Sharing Feelings Like Sunbeams, Part 1. Talking with the trees. When 5-year-old Emma discovered that her grandmother's oak tree seemed to nod when she whispered to it, researchers at Stanford were documenting something remarkable. Children who regularly engage in expressive talking, whether to pets, plants, or trusted adults, show 40% better emotional regulation skills than those who keep feelings bottled up inside. The magic happens in the simple act of putting feelings into words. Dr. Dan Siegel's groundbreaking research at UCLA revealed that when children verbalize emotions, their brain's alarm center actually calms down. It's like having an internal dimmer switch for big feelings. Emma's conversations with that old oak weren't just imagination. They were emotional regulation in action. Think of unexpressed emotions like steam building in a kettle. Without an outlet, pressure builds until something gives way, often in the form of tantrums or meltdowns. But when children learn to talk it out, they release that pressure gradually and safely. The listener doesn't need to offer solutions or even respond. Sometimes the most healing conversations happen with the family cat or a favorite stuffed animal. Consider how Fred Rogers approached this concept on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He would sit quietly, make eye contact, and simply listen when children shared their worries. Rogers understood that validation often matters more than advice. When a child says, "I felt scared when the dog barked," the response isn't, "Don't be silly." It's, "That sounds frightening. Tell me more about what that felt like." Research from the University of Rochester found that children who practice emotional expression through talking show improved sleep patterns, fewer behavioral outbursts, and stronger friendships. The key lies in creating safe spaces where feelings receive acceptance rather than judgment. Parents can model this by sharing their own appropriate emotions. "I felt frustrated in traffic today, so I took 3 deep breaths and listened to calming music." This normalizes emotional expression and demonstrates healthy coping strategies. Writing offers another powerful outlet. 7-year-old Marcus began keeping a feelings journal with simple drawings and words after his parents' divorce. His teacher noted dramatic improvements in classroom behavior within weeks. The journal became his safe space to process confusion and sadness. Even imaginary conversations work wonders. Children naturally anthropomorphize objects: that wise old tree, the patient teddy bear, the understanding family dog. These listeners provide judgment-free zones where emotions can flow freely. The goal isn't eliminating difficult feelings, but creating pathways for healthy expression. When children learn that feelings are temporary visitors rather than permanent residents, they develop resilience. They discover that talking about sadness doesn't make it bigger. It often makes it more manageable. Every conversation plants seeds of emotional intelligence that will serve children throughout their lives. Part 2. A hug for every cloud. When Maria's daughter Sophia first started kindergarten, she watched her classmate Jake crying at recess and immediately handed him her favorite crayon. No one taught her this response. She instinctively recognized his sadness and offered comfort. Researchers at Yale University discovered that children as young as 14 months old naturally respond to others' distress, suggesting empathy isn't just learned behavior, but an inherent human capacity waiting to be nurtured. Just as we learn to express our feelings through conversations with trusted listeners, we can now discover how caring for others creates a beautiful circle of connection. Think of empathy like hugging a small rain cloud. When we reach out to comfort someone's sadness, we don't get soaked by their tears. Instead, both people feel warmer and more understood. Daniel Siegel's research at UCLA revealed that children who practice empathy develop stronger neural pathways for emotional regulation. When 5-year-old Emma noticed her friend looking lonely during lunch, she invited him to sit with her group. Later that day, Emma's teacher observed her handling her own disappointment about a canceled playground time with remarkable calm. The connection isn't coincidental. Helping others process emotions strengthens our own emotional muscles. Teaching children to recognize emotional cues in others starts with simple observations. Does someone's face look droopy like a wilted flower? Are their shoulders curved inward like they're protecting their heart? These physical signs become roadmaps for compassion. When children learn to notice these signals, they develop what psychologist Paul Ekman calls emotional intelligence radar. The magic happens in the response. A gentle hand on a friend's shoulder, sharing a favorite toy, or simply asking, "Are you okay?" creates powerful healing moments. Child psychologist Dr. Patty Wipfler documented how preschoolers who regularly practiced small acts of kindness showed decreased anxiety and improved social skills within 6 weeks. Validation plays a crucial role in this process. Teaching children to say it's okay to feel sad instead of don't cry helps friends feel understood rather than judged. This approach mirrors the therapeutic technique of emotional validation used by professional counselors with remarkable success rates. The beautiful truth about empathy is its reciprocal nature. When children comfort others, their own emotional storms often settle naturally. 8-year-old Marcus discovered this during a difficult week when his parents were divorcing. By helping his younger sister with her nighttime fears, he found his own worries becoming more manageable. Empathy builds bridges between hearts, creating communities where every child feels seen and supported. These early experiences of giving and receiving compassion become the foundation for lifelong emotional wellness and meaningful relationships. Part 3. Laughter bubbles everywhere. When Marcus heard his friend telling a silly knock-knock joke at recess, something magical happened inside his chest. The sound bubbled up from somewhere deep, like fizzy soda shaken in a bottle, and suddenly laughter burst out of him so hard he snorted. Research from Stanford University shows that genuine laughter releases endorphins and reduces cortisol levels within minutes, literally changing our brain chemistry. But something even more remarkable occurred that day. As Marcus laughed, 3 other children nearby started giggling too, creating what scientists call emotional contagion. Think of laughter as invisible bubbles that float from person to person, carrying joy wherever they land. When neuroscientist Dr. Sophie Brown studied playground interactions at elementary schools across California, she discovered that laughter spreads faster than any other emotion. Children who heard authentic laughter from peers showed measurable decreases in stress hormones within 60 seconds. The ripple effect continued throughout the day, with laughing children displaying more cooperative behavior and fewer emotional outbursts. 7-year-old Emma learned this firsthand during a particularly difficult week when her grandmother was hospitalized. Her teacher noticed Emma withdrawing from friends until one afternoon when classmate Jake accidentally dropped his sandwich, creating an absurd mustard explosion. Emma's spontaneous giggle sparked a chain reaction of laughter that reset her entire emotional state. Play therapy specialists confirm that humor serves as a natural reset button for overwhelmed nervous systems. The magic multiplies when laughter becomes shared experience. Dr. Robert Provine's research at the University of Maryland revealed that people laugh 30 times more often in social situations than when alone. This isn't coincidence, but evolutionary design. Shared laughter creates powerful bonding hormones like oxytocin, literally strengthening relationships at the molecular level. Parents often worry about children being too silly, but developmental psychologist Dr. X. Lawrence Cohen argues that appropriate silliness is emotional medicine. When 4-year-old Aiden started making ridiculous animal sounds during tense family dinners, his parents initially felt frustrated. However, they soon noticed that these moments of shared giggles helped everyone relax and communicate better afterward. Consider how different children feel after crying alone versus laughing with friends. Tears release emotional tension, but laughter rebuilds emotional resources while connecting us to others. The beautiful truth about joy is its generous nature. Unlike other emotions that can feel consuming, happiness expands when shared rather than diminishing. This is why playground laughter echoes so powerfully in childhood memories. Those bubbling moments of pure delight don't just create temporary happiness. They build lasting foundations for emotional resilience and social connection that children carry throughout their lives. Part 4. The Day All Colors Dance Together. When the first rainbow appeared after that magical day of shared laughter, something extraordinary happened in the garden where our story began. Each color seemed to pulse with its own rhythm, yet somehow they all moved together like dancers who had practiced the same beautiful routine for years. The research from Daniel Siegel at UCLA shows us that emotional integration in children works exactly like this rainbow phenomenon. When different feelings learn to coexist rather than compete, young minds develop what scientists call emotional flexibility. Red emotions like anger and excitement didn't disappear from the garden that day. Instead, they found their perfect place alongside blue's calm wisdom and yellow's sparkling joy. Think about how Sesame Street's creators discovered this principle decades ago when they noticed children responded better to characters who showed multiple emotions within single episodes, rather than one-dimensional happy figures. Big Bird experiences sadness, Elmo feels frustrated, and Cookie Monster learns patience. Yet children love them all because they reflect real emotional complexity. The protagonist in our story watches as gray clouds of sadness drift peacefully next to orange bursts of curiosity. Realizing what child psychologists have long observed, emotional health isn't about feeling happy all the time. Dr. Mark Brackett's research at Yale demonstrated that children who learn to name and accept difficult emotions actually experience more genuine happiness and better social relationships than those taught to suppress negative feelings. As all the colors begin their gentle dance together, something beautiful happens in the child's understanding. The angry red no longer feels like an enemy to fight, but rather like a protective friend warning about important boundaries. The sad gray becomes a gentle teacher, showing when rest and comfort are needed. This mirrors findings from the University of Rochester, where researchers discovered that children who viewed emotions as helpful information rather than problems to solve showed significantly better emotional regulation and academic performance. The dancing colors create patterns that shift and change, sometimes swirling quickly during excitement, sometimes moving slowly during quiet reflection. This natural rhythm teaches what Dr. Lisa DeMoore calls emotional weathering, the ability to experience feelings fully while trusting they will naturally shift and change. Children who witness this color dance learn that intense emotions, like storms, are temporary visitors rather than permanent residents. The most magical moment arrives when all colors blend briefly into pure white light before separating again into their distinct, beautiful selves. This teaches perhaps the most important lesson. Peace doesn't mean choosing only calm emotions, but rather finding harmony among all feelings. Research from Boston Children's Hospital confirms that children who learn this integration show remarkable resilience during challenges and maintain stronger friendships throughout their development. As the story closes with colors continuing their eternal dance, children understand they carry this same rainbow within themselves. Every feeling welcome, every emotion valuable, every color necessary for creating the masterpiece of a well-lived life. Chapter 5. My Little Book of Calm Part 1. Color Breathing Game. When 4-year-old Maya discovered she could breathe in sunshine yellow and breathe out stormy gray during a particularly challenging preschool meltdown, her teacher witnessed something remarkable. Research from Harvard's Center on the Developing Child shows that visualization techniques combined with breathing exercises activate the same neural pathways that professional athletes use for peak performance. But in children, these pathways are still forming and incredibly responsive to creative practice. Think of breathing as your child's personal art palette. Just as painters mix colors to create new feelings on canvas, children can learn to breathe in colors that bring them exactly what they need in each moment. The technique transforms an abstract concept like calm down into something tangible and magical, that even 3-year-olds can grasp immediately. Dr. Daniel Siegel's research at UCLA demonstrates that when children engage multiple senses during emotional regulation, their brains create stronger, more lasting neural connections. Color breathing achieves this by combining visual imagination, controlled breathing, and emotional awareness into one powerful tool. The Mayo Clinic has documented similar results in their pediatric anxiety programs, where children who practiced color visualization showed 40% faster recovery from stress responses compared to traditional counting methods. Here's how to guide your child through their first color breathing adventure. Start by asking them to imagine their favorite calming color. Many children choose blue like ocean waves, green like peaceful trees, or soft purple like twilight. Have them breathe in slowly while picturing that color filling their entire body like gentle, warm water. Then, ask them to choose a color for their worried or angry feelings. Often, children select red, black, or dark gray. As they breathe out, they imagine pushing all that uncomfortable color out through their nose and mouth. 6-year-old James from Portland transformed his bedtime routine using color breathing. His mother, Sarah, reported that after 3 weeks of practicing breathing in ocean blue and breathing out angry red, James's nighttime anxiety decreased dramatically. He began requesting his color breathing time independently, showing how quickly children take ownership of this technique. Teachers at Riverside Elementary in California integrated color breathing into their classroom management system. When students feel overwhelmed, they can visit the designated color corner, where laminated cards display different breathing colors and their meanings. Principal Rodriguez noted a 60% reduction in behavioral incidents during the first semester of implementation. The beauty of color breathing lies in its flexibility. Morning anxiety might call for energizing yellow or orange, while afternoon overstimulation responds well to cooling blues and greens. Children naturally develop their own color associations, creating a personalized emotional toolkit they carry everywhere. This simple practice teaches children that they possess internal resources for managing big feelings, building confidence alongside emotional regulation skills that will serve them throughout their lives. Part 2. Feelings Finder Chart. When 4-year-old Maya screams, "I don't know what's wrong," during her third meltdown of the morning, she's experiencing what researchers call emotional granularity deficit, the inability to distinguish between different feelings swirling inside. Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett's groundbreaking research at Northeastern University revealed that children who can name their emotions with precision show 40% less aggressive behavior and significantly better academic performance. The magic happens when we give children concrete tools to identify their inner weather. Think of emotions like radio stations. When everything sounds like static noise, it's overwhelming and scary. But when children learn to tune into specific frequencies, they gain control over their emotional landscape. The Feelings Finder chart transforms this abstract concept into a playful detective game. Children become emotion explorers, matching facial expressions with color-coded feeling words. Red might represent anger or frustration. Blue could signify sadness or loneliness, while yellow captures joy and excitement. This visual approach works because young brains process images 60,000 times faster than text. At Riverside Elementary, teacher Karen Walsh implemented daily feelings check-ins using a large classroom chart. Children would point to their color of the day and share why they felt that way. Within 3 months, playground conflicts dropped by half. 6-year-old Alex, previously unable to express frustration without hitting, began saying, "I'm feeling red-hot angry because someone took my pencil." The neuroscience behind this approach is remarkable. When children name emotions, activity in the brain's amygdala, the alarm center, decreases by up to 50%. It's like turning down the volume on emotional intensity. Dr. Daniel Siegel calls this "name it to tame it," and MRI studies consistently show this calming effect across different age groups. Creating your own feelings finder becomes a family adventure. Start with basic emotions: happy, sad, mad, scared, and excited. Use real photos of your child displaying these emotions or draw simple faces together. The key lies in making it interactive, not a test, but a conversation starter. The daily question, "What color are you today?" transforms routine moments into emotional literacy lessons. Morning breakfast becomes an opportunity to discuss anticipation about the school day. Bedtime offers reflection on the day's emotional journey. Children begin recognizing that feelings change, and that's perfectly normal. Research from Yale University's Center for Emotional Intelligence shows children with strong emotion vocabulary scored 10% higher on academic assessments. They're also more likely to help classmates and show empathy during conflicts. The simple act of identifying feelings creates a foundation for emotional intelligence that serves them throughout their lives. Part 3. Calm Down Idea Box. When 7-year-old Maya first heard about making a calm down box, she rolled her eyes and declared it boring grown-up stuff. 6 months later, that same colorful shoebox sits prominently on her nightstand, filled with treasures she carefully selected to help her through overwhelming moments. Research from Harvard Medical School reveals that children who engage in creating personalized coping tools show 40% better emotional recovery times than those using generic strategies. Building a calm down box transforms abstract emotional regulation into something tangible that children can touch, see, and control. Think of it as creating a personal first aid kit for feelings, just as we keep bandages for scraped knees. This box holds remedies for hurt hearts and worried minds. The magic happens in the selection process itself. Children become emotional detectives, discovering what genuinely soothes them. 8-year-old Marcus shows a smooth river rock his grandmother gave him, explaining that rolling it between his palms made his anger shrink down small. His classmate Elena included a photo of her dog wearing sunglasses because it never failed to make her giggle during sad moments. Texture plays a powerful role in emotional regulation. The sensory system directly connects to the brain's emotional centers, which explains why a soft piece of velvet or a stress ball can interrupt a meltdown. Child psychologist Dr. Rebecca Martinez documented how children with tactile comfort items in their calm down boxes reduced classroom disruptions by 60% over a school semester. The box itself matters too. Children need ownership of their calming space. A decorated shoebox, small basket, or even a zippered pouch works perfectly. The key is making it portable and personal. 6-year-old David painted his box bright blue with white clouds, explaining that looking at it reminded him of peaceful sky watching with his dad. Effective calm-down boxes often include drawings children created during happy moments, small toys that spark positive memories, family photos, or even recordings of loved ones singing favorite songs. The items aren't random. They're carefully chosen anchors to safety and comfort. What makes this approach revolutionary is how it shifts children from feeling helpless during emotional storms to becoming active participants in their own healing. Instead of waiting for adults to fix their feelings, they learn to reach for their personal toolkit. This builds confidence that lasts far beyond childhood. Teachers report that children who create these boxes often become peer mentors, helping classmates identify their own comfort strategies. The ripple effect creates emotionally intelligent classroom communities where feelings are acknowledged, tools are shared, and everyone learns that big emotions are manageable with the right preparation and practice. Part 4. The Promise Page. When Maria Montessori first watched children create their own learning materials, she noticed something remarkable. They treated their handmade tools with extraordinary care. This same principle transforms how young minds approach emotional growth when they craft personal promises to themselves. Research from Harvard's Center on the Developing Child shows that children who actively participate in creating their emotional support systems demonstrate 40% better self-regulation than those who simply receive adult guidance. Your promise page becomes more than words or pictures. It transforms into a sacred contract between you and your feelings, a gentle agreement that honors every emotion that visits your heart. Think of it like planting a seed in your mind, one that grows stronger each time you remember your commitment to kindness toward yourself. Dr. Kristen Neff's groundbreaking research on self-compassion reveals that children who practice gentle self-talk experience significantly less anxiety and depression throughout their lives. When 7-year-old Marcus created his promise page after struggling with classroom outbursts, he drew a picture of himself giving a hug to a crying version of himself. His teacher reported that he began using this mental image during difficult moments, literally embracing his own struggles with compassion. Creating your promise page works like building a personal lighthouse. When emotional storms arrive, and they will, this beacon guides you back to safety. Some children write simple words, "I am brave with my feelings." Others draw colorful pictures showing themselves being patient with anger or gentle with sadness. The format matters less than the intention behind it. What makes promise pages particularly powerful is their role as daily reminders. Place yours somewhere visible, your bedroom mirror, inside your backpack, or on the refrigerator. Each glimpse reinforces the truth that you possess everything needed to handle life's emotional adventures. You are not broken when feelings feel big. You are not wrong when emotions feel confusing. You are learning, growing, and becoming more skilled at understanding your inner world. Consider how Olympic athletes visualize successful performances before competitions. Your promise page works similarly, rehearsing emotional success before challenges arise. When frustration bubbles up during homework or disappointment crashes over you after a playground disagreement, your promise whispers reminders of your capability and worth. Remember that promises to yourself deserve the same respect as promises to friends. Would you break a commitment to help a classmate? Your emotional well-being deserves equal loyalty. This promise page becomes your daily practice of showing up for yourself with patience, understanding, and love, exactly the way you hope others will treat you.